Christina, good to see you on this afternoon. You know, we had set this up a while ago, our interview, and I just want to introduce you to my friend Christina Rost. And you know, Christina, we met actually at a WriterCon last year at the WriterCon conference at the Skirvin Hotel, which, you know, little blurb, we will also have again, and you can go ahead and get on the website, writercon.org, and get information about our annual conference. And it's going to be amazing at the Skirvin again. But I met Christina, and Christina was like the star pupil.
Oh, really? Okay.
We love because on Monday at WriterCon, we have all our master classes, and they're like the university classes. I mean, of course, they're open for everyone, but they're very jam packed with amazing information. Yeah. So you basically sign up for one class, and then you get, it can be 6 hours.
It's a full day. Full day.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we got to know each other better because Christina came on board with the Writers Roundtable, became a part of Write Your Heart Out community. And so I've gotten to know her better and better. And when I was thinking about this Getting Unstuck series, I thought about you, Christina.
Okay.
I did because, okay, you already have finished 3 novels.
Right?
That is just so amazing that, understood. Publishing is a whole process. It takes time, and it takes time when you're self-publishing. So, Christina, tell us a little bit about what got you started in the storytelling area.
I've always enjoyed story. I've loved reading. Always been the one to kind of, as a child, hang out in the library, and then through high school, I was the library volunteer. So always enjoyed that. It wasn't until about 11 years ago that I really just thought, I'm going to start writing. I'm going to start writing some stories. My daughter was born, and I just wanted to kind of pass on the love of story to her. I have 2 older boys, and they read some. I would say my middle child read a lot more. But I just wanted to kind of create a world that was safe for her to read. And I think that's where it kind of came from. There's so many good stories out there, but sometimes they've got things interjected in them that just aren't super wholesome. And I just wanted to have, fun, creative stories, mystery, suspense, and romance, but I wanted them to be fun and wholesome. So I just started kind of sitting down and throwing out some ideas, and I wrote a story, and I had actually kind of looked up. I thought, well, how long is a novel? What is the number? And I saw it was around 80,000 words. So I didn't go in with the intent of writing 80,000 words. I just went in writing. And I think I ended up somewhere around like 90, but then I stripped some out that was like redundant and that kind of thing. And so I ended up around that number, and I kind of thought, oh, I like this. And in that process, I just started writing a lot of different ideas down. So I kind of found my niche in that. But that was 11 years ago. And, bring it up to now, my husband retired from the military, and we moved. And I kind of told him, I sat down, it was kind of a family thing. And I said, I really want to just focus on writing. Is that okay? And of course, he's always been supportive. He's like, sure, let's do it. In 2020, beginning of 2020, kind of not a New Year's resolution, but I said, I want to just put everything into it, whatever that means. I want to try to get published, learn the craft. My drafts were not great. They were grammatically scary. I write because I just kind of write scenes, but it was like if you just kind of read it from, I always say I'm done from A to Z because there's a whole story there and there's that whole amount of words. But I didn't understand point of view, and I didn't understand head hopping. I didn't understand character arc. I didn't understand any of that. So beginning of 2020, I said, okay, I am going to learn everything I can. So I just started listening to videos and talking to people, listening to authors. And I saw WriterCon come up. I thought, okay, that might be fun to do. Well, then March hit of 2020 and everything kind of changed. Now I wasn't a mom at home with 6 hours a day because my kid was in school. Now everybody was home and I thought, oh goodness, and I was tempted to put it on hold. And, God just kept giving me ideas and I just started writing. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to keep going forward. And I saw that WriterCon was still on and I jumped in with both feet. So that's kind of how it was. That's kind of how the process went so far.
I love it. WriterCon hit a little window of time, Christina, and it was amazing because it was very short. Of course, we live streamed also, which we'll have that again. Having that option is just so amazing. But we had never done that really to that extent before. And I would say that, we had about half and half, but we did have an on-site conference was so unusual, so unusual. But it worked out fine. And the Skirvin was wonderful, had all kinds of, things in place. So yeah, we didn't have any incidences. Yeah,
it was amazing. I would say it was a pivotal part in my writing. The amount of information I learned there I was just overwhelmed with how much information. I had to come home and just process it for like 2 weeks. And especially like you mentioned, the master class, it was just so much. And I thought, okay, now I have these 3 stories. I need to prepare them. And I think that's the process I'm in right now, is preparing them and reading through them and understanding, learning from people like you and with critique groups, and learning what does it mean to polish them and what does that look like. So,
I think that so often, and I don't know if it's true of all writers, but we can get paralyzed. And I think the thing that I love about you, Christina, is, you had 3 full-length novels written before you really knew any of the conventions or, which actually is amazing because then you have this bulk of a story and you actually, you have the framework. You may have to make some adjustments. You may have to make massive adjustments, but you still have a story. And,
right.
and so often, I think if we get hung up trying to make sure that we're doing everything right first, we lose the fact that it's a story and we can
Absolutely
get it down.
Right. If we think about our history, as humans, story has always been verbal from the way beginning. And so I think if we just tell our story, that's one of the things we talk about in our critique group, is I just write as if I'm telling the story. And if you look at my first, there might be no capitalizations, there may not be much grammar, I'm just getting it out because this is how I would tell the story. And then it's so much easier to go back and redo that once you have it down, in my opinion.
Well, it certainly has worked for you. And I will say, because Christina's in one of the Write Your Heart Out critique groups or small coaching groups. And wow, the story that you have been bringing us the last few sessions, it's been a clean manuscript. And so it is a good story. And I think the encouraging thing is, Christina, you've been willing just to jump into new areas. And like, tell us about mailing off the proposal and all of that.
Oh, goodness. I almost want to contact the first person I sent a proposal to and say, I am so sorry. Like,
Well,
that was a mess. Like, I didn't know how to write a proposal. I didn't even know what a query letter was. So all of this stuff, I mean, the internet is just a plethora of information. And, I just researched it. I would look, this is what a query letter looks like. I'm just going to put that in there. And I'm sure some of it didn't come out wonderfully. I didn't know how to pitch a book. And I learned that at WritingCon. I remember doing my first pitch and I read it off of my cell phone because I didn't know what I was doing. I don't know. The idea of telling your story in one line was amazing. I was like, that's so hard. What an amazing technique to learn. I would just say the process, I'm having fun with the process. Yes, I've gotten, I think it's 2 rejections that just said, not at this time. I don't feel downcast about it. I really feel like, well, that's just not the right agent. That's not the right publishing house. I don't know. It's a journey. I started a blog and it was called My Creative Journey. And the whole point of it was to share with others to jump in and try something new, no matter what age you are, no matter if you feel like you might not be equipped to do it, you can learn along the way. You can, there's never a point where you say, okay, I've learned all I can and I'm finished.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of just keeping that process going so other people can say, okay, maybe I'll try something. I've always wanted to do A and I'm going to try it. So,
well, I think really that was one thing that I've noticed about you, Christina, that really has spoken to me as a writer, and that is your joy level. I mean, you're not hugely emotional. You don't have huge angst about, this and that. You see the craft and you say, I can learn the craft. I love story, and you love story, but learning the craft is something that we learn, and getting that story down, especially in a first draft. I love that you can just get it down,
right,
and not worry about it being perfect, and then you have all that wealth of story that you can fine tune.
Absolutely. Sometimes it's just a scene. I'm working through a scene right now, and a lot of times it's fun just researching. Okay, researching the setting. Just trying to understand what's going on and really feeling that. If you have the story down, if you have, like I said, I'm always saying I have A to Z. I know what's happening. I know what's going to happen in the end. I feel like you can really just go back and you take that character. For instance, the character I'm working with right now, he's injured. But now you can go back and just sit there. Okay, what is he really feeling? Look up those injuries. What are they like? What is he smelling? What is he seeing? What is his, hands touching? So then you just fill it in. And I think that's the fun part to me, is you're kind of just building up that character and what they're feeling at the time.
Well, I tell you, that is a really good attitude. Because you'll find, and I realize the last few days I've been studying and doing a lot of research, because I have 30,000 words in a new novel, but my main character is shifting into another world. And so when I get to the place where I think, oh, I don't know if this is going to work, it's usually because I'm past that first draft and I'm moving into fine tuning, and I need more information. I mean, she goes to live with people who are an equestrian tribe. I was like, hello, I need to know about horses.
Right?
I need to know how that works exactly. And
right.
yeah, so instead of throwing the story away, what would have in the past kind of made me go, oh, it's not going to be very good because I can't answer that question. No, you just kind of you research it out, you work with it, you massage it. There may be some things that you need to change, but not right away, not when you're still lining out the world that character is living in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes you go through a chapter or even a first draft and you realize how you might say the same word over and over again. I'm going through a piece where he's kind of having a flashback because he's, like I said, he's injured. So he's in and out of consciousness. Well, you can't keep saying he woke up and he remembered every paragraph. You just can't. But on your first draft, you can because you want to know that he remembered. So you want to know there's that division that now he's waking up. He's remembering where he is. Okay, now he's going black. Well, you don't want to say he blacked out every other paragraph. So now it's great because you can just go in there and kind of pull things out. And then all of a sudden, a sharp memory pulls him awake. Okay, a sharp pain pulls him awake. A sound pulls him awake. So now he has to be pulled awake several different ways, I think, to keep it creative. I don't know if that makes sense, but
it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. And it's always good not to get stuck in that at the very beginning.
Yes.
Go ahead and say he woke up, he remembered, and then you can add the I think they're like the fine tune creative things that you have to add on that actually reveal more about the character, actually reveal more about the character's thoughts, his physical reactions. So there's just a multitude of things you can add at that point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you really just have to kind of, dig into what he's doing or your main character and where they are. But I feel like if you get caught on it, okay, I've repeated this word and you're in a first draft, you're going to lose the story. Most writers, we have a flow, it's just a flow. And I don't want to lose the story. I don't want to lose. Yeah, he just woke up out of consciousness. There's another pivotal part. I don't want to lose that and get hooked on this one word. So that word can get changed later.
Yeah.
So I'm learning that, but I'm kind of glad, like you said, that I didn't necessarily learn how to write before I wrote. If that kind of resonates with you at all, I just wrote and then now I have to go back and say, okay, how can I polish this?
Yeah. No, I think it's good. I mean, it kind of depends on the way a creative works because I do have friends who thoroughly outline before they start writing. And often my default is writing, and I can end up spending a whole lot of words that I could probably have saved if I really had known where I was going before I started to write. So,
right.
But even then, even now, there are certain things that I know about a good story that are reflected in a first draft. So I know a lot better about the structure of a story and how there needs to be a character arc, and I have a sense of theme. But at the very beginning, wow, there's just getting that story down is really, really important. So, do you have a sense, Christina, like when you get a story idea, do you have a strong sense of that beginning, middle, and end when you start your first draft?
It's funny. I started learning the words plotter and pantser at the WritingCon, and I thought, okay, maybe I'm a plantser because is there a new word in between? Sometimes I just get a character and what is he doing? And I love dialogue. We've shared that before. I love to have a dialogue that's, I don't know, I just enjoy it. I enjoy dialogue. And so I might start off with a dialogue portion of a scene and think, where is this going to go? sometimes I do draw then from there. I might draw a quick timeline. He's doing this. What's his character look like? But then I just write scenes. But I always, I love a good title. So I always like a title. And I know that's weird. And I remember hearing that like your title might change when, you meet with a publisher. And I thought, oh no, but I'm okay. I'm open for that. But, but I find a good title, and then I like to know the ending.
Yeah.
But sometimes I don't always know how they get there. So that's kind of my process, I guess. I want to know the ending. If it's a romance, I want to know, okay, these are the people that are getting together. If it's a mystery, this is how it's solved. But then I don't know the process until I start writing. So.
Well, I mean, I think that's encouraging, Christina. And I would say that my takeaway with you and your style is that you're pretty fearless, and you enjoy writing, you enjoy telling a story. And I think that's one thing that we really need to guard as writers, certainly as storytellers, that we enjoy the concept of a story, and that to a certain extent we can trust the story in our heart to come out and to be crafted, and just not to let ourselves take that story and stuff it in a drawer, because really we are the creators of that story. And even when you're really in a plot hole, like I found myself in a plot hole, I was like, oh dear, there's always a way out. You can craft a way out in some way, and it's just, it takes time using that left brain. I know my hands are switched here on right. So you have to learn. I have to learn to engage that left brain, because I tend to be more intuitive, and I tend to be more of a pantser. But I found, I mean, it's very, very valuable to know where you're going.
It really is. It really is. I dug out a couple of journals from years ago, and the story you're talking about that we talk about in our critique group, I was laughing because I've changed the main character's name. I've changed the villain. I've changed, but it was probably 10 pages of just free write, but the ending is the same. So it's interesting how much I changed in between. I made the main character, Irish. Well, his name in my journal was not Irish. So then I went back and thought, okay, he needs a good Irish name. So it was just kind of funny. You see the process, how that goes.
Yes. And then, what we read in our critique group, our small coaching session, it looks clean and fabulous. And we really, Write Your Heart Out is my community for emerging writers. It's for writers who are like, I have a story on my heart. I have a book that I want to write, but I don't know how to start, or maybe I've started and I'm stuck. So that's what Write Your Heart Out is for. So, but what I see when Christina will read her chapter, it's so clean, and unless you're aware of the process, you can think Christina just did that. I mean,
yeah,
put that together in a day or two, and it's fabulous.
No.
No.
It's been a lot of learning. It's been a lot of research and spending time. I try every day since I put kind of both feet in at the beginning of 2020. I try every day to do something for writing, whatever that is. Even if it's just watching a podcast, even if it's just meeting with a critique group, and I say, okay, what did I learn from that?
Yeah.
And how can I take that back into the story? Because we want to have a good story. We want to have, we have these great ideas, but if they're not put together in a way that people can understand them, it's not gonna affect anybody. So
Well, so then it's twofold. So not only is Christina fearless in getting that story down, but she is an all-in learner. You are an active learner. You're not passive about the process, which I think is, depending on how we're made, uh, depending on how strong the right or the left brain is, or how we need to exercise those two, that is really an unbeatable combination, because it's the creative element, but it's the creative element that's brought into the realm of craft that has very specific techniques that will help a story sing, that will help a character come to life. And so we teased Christina when, we read those beautiful chapters. Well, that was easy, wasn't it?
oh yeah.
It took time, and I've found, Christina, that every story that I've written is really a laboratory. It's evidence of what I know about storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
So,
You
I mean,
said
they get
something.
better.
Yeah, you said something really that resonated with me the first time I think we met to read chapter 1, and you said you don't want to give it all away, and I thought that has really helped me go back, and I've been able to skim a lot that says too much. The chapter 1 was fine, chapter 2 was great, but I've noticed like around chapter 13, I seem to be wanting to explain a little bit more. And I need to be careful, because we have to give our readers credit that they're smarter than we think they are. Even though the story's in our head, they're able to start putting things together as they read, and kind of compounding that. So when you said that, I thought, yeah, that's true. I need to make sure, for instance, I'm describing this character who's injured, and I thought, well, okay, we know he's injured. There's certain things I don't need to describe. There's certain things that are a given, that we've all had aches and pains. We kind of get that, we don't have to explain it. So,
Yeah. But that comes with experience, and that comes with just wrangling it and learning every
yeah.
day. And I always know when I have an active learner in our Write Your Heart Out community, because Christina said, "What podcasts do you like? What tutorials do you listen to?" And so I gave her some of my favorite, and I'm the same way, Christina. I usually work at the counter in my kitchen. So if I'm unloading the dishwasher or whatever, I'm listening to a tutorial. I am listening to YouTube, someone talking about story. Lately, I've been listening to screenwriters, and because there's just so much that a screenwriter can teach a novelist about structure, the good structure of a story, with a protagonist who actually changes, and the emotional element and all of that. So yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's like feeding your gift, but learning that, I think about other careers. Like my husband is more of a scientist. He's likes to develop technology for geophysics.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
That's quite the opposite from you.
Yeah, yeah, that's so, but you know what? He gets an idea and he will wrangle that idea. And some of them have taken weeks and months. And there's one specific innovation that he's worked on for a long time. But he just won't give up. He won't give up. He just keeps trying something else. So I love that, because I think that is, besides being good for us as a writer, it's also a good lifelong tip as far as keeping our mind and our everything about us alive and growing and in community.
That's very true. Yeah, very true. Yeah, you had mentioned getting unstuck, and I thought, there's so many times when I go down to write and I'm just staring at the page and I'm thinking, I know this needs to be doing something, but I mean, there are other things to do. I like to read or maybe listen to a book in a different genre, and that kind of gets me jump started. Even I'm over here, maybe writing romance. I might want to read something over here in action because it just has something different. And I think if we get jump started, then all of a sudden we're like, oh, okay, that was kind of a cool scene. How can I put that, that kind of flair in what I'm writing?
So. I love that. What a great tip. What a great tip. So there are specific ways that you can get yourself unstuck, even when you're staring at a blank page.
Oh, yes. I was thinking about it. Okay. So when you said, and you emailed me and you said, I'm doing this, it's called Unstuck. And I think I shared this with you real quick. I said, I just kind of mulled over that. I'm like, unstuck. What does that mean? I'm a visual learner. I kind of want to take something away from it. And I thought, when I think unstuck, I think stuck in the mud. That's exactly what I thought of. And I thought, okay, so my brain went there and I thought, I'm going to look up, how do you get unstuck out of the mud? So Laurel, this is great. I found it. I found these 3 things. Get all the weight out of the car. And I thought, okay, that's awesome. And the second one was, this is my Cliff Note version. Move the mud around, get dirty. And the third one was get towed. So I said, what does that mean for me as a writer? Okay, so get all the weight out of the car. For me, it means really just getting everything away that's kind of speaking into me. And I get alone with God. I read a devotion. I read my Bible because I want to do what he wants me to do. So if I'm not in the right direction, it's not going to go anywhere anyhow. And that's just for my life. So I thought that's such a great analogy. Like, get everybody out of the car and you're stuck in the mud, but you get that weight, it could actually move the car. So I said, okay, so that's what I'll do. I get away with God. I really just hone in on what he wants me to do as a writer. I want to be a good ambassador for him in my writing. I want to be a good representative. That's my goal. And then I read Clear Out the Mud, and I thought, change things around, get dirty. I don't have a specific place I write. So sometimes I'll write in my bedroom, I'll write in the office, I'll go outside. When the world allows, I go to coffee shops and libraries because there's people out there and there's so many good stories just with people. You need a good scene of somebody on the phone, go sit in Starbucks. You can watch people on the phone all the time. So I was thinking about that. And the other thing I do to kind of move things around was I started doing contests that were really different from what I was used to. I entered a couple of poetry contests, and I don't write poetry. So I just thought, I'm going to do it. But it took that creativity to a different level. It was different. It was interesting. So I guess that was kind of in that portion. And then I love the last part where it says like get a toe. I thought that is what I think about when I think of WritingCon conferences, our critique group, get your tribe. When I went to that conference, I suddenly felt like I get these people. Yeah. And I've never had anybody to kind of talk about story with. And when that happened and everybody was talking about their story, I thought, this is my people. As a writer, it's so easy to be isolated because we spend so much time fashioning story that we look around and all of a sudden we're by ourselves. And we really need other people like us. So that was a big eye opener for me. But I don't know. That's kind of how I try to get moving and,
Christina, I really hope you blog that. I think that's such a powerful analogy because when I studied it out, it was like when you're in a position mentally, emotionally, or wherever where you're just not moving. In other words, like you need a new thought, you need a new attitude, or, but wow, I hope that you will blog that because I think that will so help people
Yeah.
to get that visual about what do you do when you're stuck in the mud?
Right.
I love
Right.
that.
Just take it and run with it. And I love the final part. It was from this insurance company. It was pretty funny. And the end, it was like, oh, what is the two thing? Oh, prepare. So prepare and don't get stuck in the mud, which is great. We should always be preparing and thinking, what can I do to not get in that position?
Yeah.
I don't like dead space. I'm a mom. Sometimes I spend time in a car line waiting for sports to get done,
Right.
at the doctor's office. I mean, if you think about it, a lot of time we have is dead space.
Yeah.
So, have those podcasts ready, have them downloaded on your phone, bring books with you, bring a journal with you, always have a pen and paper in your purse, So, I mean, prepare for the rain is kind of that. And then the other one was don't spin your wheels while you're in the mud because you're not going to go anywhere. And if anything I've learned with story is that the next chapter needs to lead you to the next chapter. And so you need to be moving. You need to be moving forward, even if it's just, just today, I'm going to learn how to describe this setting. And that's moving forward. So.
Wow. Good job, Christina. See why I invited her? I told you. I told you it's going to be good.
Oh, goodness.
I just do appreciate it, Christina. And I know that all of our listeners do also, because the best part about being committed as a writer and also not being, what's the word? You can prepare and you can learn your craft, but there are times that you feel like you are motionless. And how to get out of those times is so important for people who are like, if you don't, if you want to be a writer, you have to write and you have to keep writing and know that the more you write, the better you get. And it's just, I love the tips that you've given us, Christina, and I just appreciate it so much. And we would love to invite you all to the Writers Roundtable on Tuesdays.
Yeah, it's great.
Totally fun, totally free, and it is a writers community. We talk about things like this. Usually I'll introduce like one craft tip and then give some examples, and then we'll talk about it with your manuscripts. So it is definitely guided. It's not so much a free-for-all, but it's a great community, and we would love to have you. And also check me out at www.writewithlaurel.com. And Christina, you've got some links you're going to drop in the comment section of our interviews. So feel free to contact Christina too with questions. We would love to hear your comments. We would just love to hear feedback. So, Christina, is there anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. I say just, like I said, get a group together. If you write, get around people that write, and they will, kind of like iron sharpens iron. We need to prod each other along and give each other good feedback. So
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming on board and talking with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
You're welcome. We look forward to hearing about that publication and staying in touch. So, all right. Well, you take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.